April 12th, 1943. The Russian spring is starting to break through the snow. Everything is turning into mud, making movement almost impossible. Our vehicles are stuck, and the roads have turned into rivers of thick sludge. We've been pushing forward for months now, but the progress is slow. The enemy doesn't seem to tire. Every time we think we've broken through, they regroup and hit back harder. The cold from the winter still lingers in my bones, and I can't shake the feeling that we're wearing down. The men are exhausted, supplies are low, we haven't had a proper meal in days, and some of us are down to eating what little we can find in the villages we pass. But the Russian villages are empty now, stripped bare by the retreating Red Army and abandoned by the locals. There's nothing left for us here but mud, cold, and endless fighting. April 18th, 1943. The fighting has been brutal lately. We've been ordered to hold a position outside a small village. The Russians are relentless, attacking us day and night. They send wave after wave of soldiers, and it feels like they don't care how many of their men die. Our artillery keeps pounding them, but they just keep coming. I was in the trenches today, and we had to fight off another attack. It's hard to describe the chaos: screams, gunfire, explosions all around. The ground is soaked with blood, and the air is thick with the smell of burning. One of my closest friends was hit by a shell just a few feet away from me. He was gone in an instant. I didn't even have time to say goodbye. Moments like that make me question everything what we're doing here, what the point of it all is. We're supposed to be advancing, pushing further into Soviet territory, but it feels like we're stuck in place, just fighting to survive each day. Every time the Russians pull back, we know they'll come again. April 25th, 1943. Another day, another attack. We've lost more men, and reinforcements are nowhere in sight. Command keeps promising us relief, but it never seems to come. The trenches are nothing but mud, and we're drenched in filth. Morale is low. Some of the men have started to talk about retreating, but we know that's not an option. The officers would shoot anyone who tried. Today, we had to defend against a tank attack. I watched as our anti-tank guns struggled to take them out, one by one. The ground shook as the tanks rolled over our positions, and the men panicked. We managed to hold them off, but just barely. I don't know how much longer we can do this. We've heard rumors that the Soviets are preparing for a massive counterattack. If that's true, I don't know how we'll survive it. Every day, the fighting gets worse, and we're losing ground. The Russians are like a tidal wave. No matter how hard we fight, they just keep coming. April 30th, 1943. The counterattack came today. It was worse than anything we could have imagined. Artillery shells rained down on us for hours, tearing apart our defenses. Then came the infantry wave after wave of Soviet soldiers charging straight into our lines. We fired until our guns overheated, but it wasn't enough. They just kept coming. Our trenches were overrun. We had no choice but to fall back. The retreat was chaos. Men running in every direction, tanks plowing through the mud, and the constant roar of explosions. I saw men I fought alongside for months get cut down in an instant. We've been pushed back miles now, and there's no sign of stopping. We're barely holding on to what's left of our positions, and the officers are yelling at us to regroup, but it feels like it's too late. The Russians have the upper hand now, and all we can do is try to survive the next wave.